everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge, and today I am bringing you a recommendation video for pet lovers. So most of these are going to be dogs, but there actually are some that are some very interesting animals. So I'm just putting these all into one. This is by no means an extensive list, but the thing I tried to do is I tried to pick ones where the pet is like integral to the story in some way, or like helps the romance along, because there are, like, once you start to broaden the term out, there are tons of books, especially historicals, that have animals in them, just because animals were a bigger part of people's lives back in historical times. So I tried to pick both contemporary and historicals that have the animal as a significant part of the story, okay? These are just my list. Feel free to leave your recommendations down in the description, because, again, I'm just going to go through some pretty quickly here. I've shared this before. I'm trying to make more of my recommendation videos a little bit shorter and not as much in detail for two reasons. One, to not give as much of the story away. I know a lot of you don't mind, obviously, or you wouldn't still be watching me. But number two, because of my bulk filming on the weekends now, I really can't take an hour for every video that I do. I know, it's hard. But my weekly wrap-ups are all still almost an hour. Like this one from last week was 53 minutes long. So anyway, enough of the explanation. You're here for the recommendations. Let's dive in with a few of them that are contemporary, and then we'll get into, I actually have one fantasy one and the rest are historical. So the first one I want to mention, let me scoot over because I couldn't find this one. I do own this one, but I don't know where it is. I have Shacking Up by Helena Hunting, or whatever you go. I love Helena Hunting for her hockey books quite a lot, actually. There was just an announcement of a new one that's coming out and I'm so excited. But she has this other series that I've actually only read this one, but I own two of the other ones in the series. But this one, Shacking Up, is about this woman who she is, I can't remember if she's working a job or if she's there for a wedding. I think she's there for like a wedding reception. And this guy kisses her because he mistakes her for someone else, and he kisses her and he actually ends up getting her sick, and he gets her so sick that she ends up missing her audition and not getting a job. And so because at this wedding there's like connections of people, he is actually this businessman and he has a very unique couple of pets. He actually has, I think he has 3 pets, but the main one is actually this ferret, who it's illegal to own one in the state that he lives in, but he rescued this animal from one of their family's hotels, because he's like a hotelier. His father or his family owns them, and he rescued this ferret, and he goes on these business trips to Asia, and he doesn't have someone to stay with his pet, and it is really important that his pet get the proper care. And so when he, through their mutual friends, finds out that he's the reason she didn't get this job, he asks, you know, he talks with her, realizes that this could be a good fit for them. She is going to like house sit and pet sit for him when he goes on these business trips, and then also give her a free place to live because he has this amazing apartment. So what was really cool about the story is, number one, we get to see them interact with this pet, and it's so cute. Like, guys, the love for this pet that this man has, that this business guy has for his ferret is so cute. And there's different scenes of it like sleeping curled on his chest, and she's like a baby, like she's like a little baby. And so it's very important though that she's taken care of. There's also a spider that he has, which I know that might creep you out, but she doesn't really have to do much except like feed the spider like bugs and stuff. And there's one other pet, and I can't remember if it's like an aquatic animal or whatever, but the ferret's the main one. And this one was so cute, as well as this is a like friends to lovers. You think it would maybe start as like enemies because he like lost her job, but they become friends. And then he will like, this is actually like a long distance slow burn, because for big periods of time he's staying in Asia, but he will call her and they'll have like screen chats so he can talk to the ferret, okay? It's beautiful. So I highly recommend Shacking Up. Yes, I know I need to finish the rest of the series, but I just haven't been like inspired to yet. But maybe this will, by talking it to you guys, maybe this will inspire me. The next one I want to mention is one of my favorite R.S. Grays, is The Foxe and the Hound. So this is about a woman who, she adopted a puppy who was very small, And he turned out to be this huge dog. And the problem is he's not very well disciplined. So he runs away sometimes. He has a lot of energy. And one day she's walking him and he actually knocks this guy over, ruins his suit, spills coffee all over him. And he really chews her out because he's like, you need to be more in control of your dog. Because see, this woman, she's pretty small. And she has this dog who can really just take her all over the place. So it turns out that this guy is actually the new vet that took over for her current vet. And so she brings this dog in for his like checkup or whatever, and it's this guy that she knocked over. Well, the good news is he actually teaches like dog discipline classes. And so he invites her to come check that out, because if she's going to have a dog that size, she really needs to be able to be in control of him for the dog's safety and for her own. So that's how they end up continuing to interact. And so the dog is a big part of the story, right? That's how they meet, and the dog definitely causes some drama at some different times. But I really like this one. This was definitely a grumpy sunshine trope for sure, because he is a super grumpy vet and he doesn't really want to be working in this town, but he moved there because his family's there. So there's all these reasons that all add up. And it was really fun. I mean, it's an R.S. Gray, so it's a pretty quick read, and I just enjoy her books. I recently read her newest release, and I remembered how much fun I have with her stories sometimes. And then a couple other that are contemporary is actually Sanctuary by Rebekah Weatherspoon. There are dogs in the first two, but particularly in the second one, there's this hero who he has a couple like big dogs on his farm, and our heroine, she actually gets into a dangerous situation. She's a lawyer, and one of her clients is upset about how things went down, and so she ends up needing to hide for a while. So one of her colleagues has a brother who lives in this small town on a farm, and he contacts his brother and asks if she can basically hide out there. So this book has a lot going on. This is in Rebekah Weatherspoon's, what's it called? Beards and Bondage series. And I think I'm talking about the right book. I mean the second book. So I put up a picture of the one that I mean. The first one, he also has a dog, but I feel like in the second one, the dog's more important than he is in the first one. So I'll put up the picture of the one that I mean. Maybe it's not Sanctuary. I don't know, but I put up the one that I mean. Sorry. And this one has some BDSM elements in it, but it actually has a female dom. It also has a hero who is, I would definitely call him neuroatypical, or neurodivergent, just a little bit. And I really like that about him because it makes him very blunt, and he says how he feels very like easily. And our heroine just really likes that about him. This one is more of a, they're both kind of grumpy and they both kind of grow on each other, and they decide that while she's staying there, that no one in town would believe any other story than if like they had been like online, that they met online, and that she's his girlfriend coming to meet him in person for the first time. So it's also a little bit of a fake dating for the rest of the town. Then, this is a random one, but I had to bring it up because the dogs are so amazing in this one. It's actually Bound by Vengeance by Cora Reilly. So this is book 5 in the Born in Blood Chronicles, but this one could be read as a standalone more than any other book in the series could, because it doesn't rely heavily on you knowing anything else about the world, because we meet... The way that this goes in the story is that the first 4 books are about family members. Like, they're about a family finding their people. And then the 5th book is about a completely different group of people. And then we slowly see those people introduced to our people. I know that didn't make a lot of sense. But the point being, our hero Growl, who this is kind of like a Beauty and the Beast situation. She is given to Growl as a gift after her father betrays the Kimura. Not the Kimura that we love. This is pre-Ramo and Nino Kimura. And the capo expects Growl to basically rape and torture Kiara. Kara. It's Kara, not Kiara. Oh my gosh, why are there so many like C names? I wrote down Kiara. It is not Kiara. It's Kara. Kara. Oh, sorry. And instead, he like woos her in a weird way, because he does see her as his gift, right? He does, like, she was given to me. But he sees it more as like, I'm too good for her, but she's mine anyway, and I'm going to give her everything she needs. And it's really soft. The way that the animals come into this one, he has 2 rescued dogs that used to be fighter dogs. And he actually rescued them from being, like, killed in dogfighting rings. And whew, I can't tell you how quickly I will soften to a hero if he has dogs who he loves so much. Like, everything this guy does is like about his job and about his dogs, and then about Kara when she comes to stay. So if you're interested in like tipping your toe into the Born in Blood series, this could be an interesting one. There are still lots of trigger warnings about this book. If you just found like I should mention that, because this is a dark romance, a mafia romance. This is a captor-captive situation, and there is a little bit of dubious consent going on. Most all things are affirmative consent, but there are some situations of dubious things happening in this book. But Growl, he's soft and gooey inside, and I love it. And the one way to tell that is if a man has pets. I'll just say that. Okay, then I want to talk about the one fantasy one that I want to mention, and that is A Touch of Stone and Snow by Milla Vane. This is actually the sequel to A Heart of Blood and Ashes, and I feel like more and more people are reading A Heart of Blood and Ashes, but they maybe haven't read this one, because this is about a different couple at a little bit further into the future than the first one. But the reason why I have to bring up this one is that our hero, Arax, I think is how we say his name, he has a companion that is a wild, fierce, saber-toothed cat. And I can't remember his name. Let me see if I can just find it just by looking. But anyway, and it's sentient, which means like he communicates with this snow cat, with this snow saber-toothed tiger, with his mind. Like, they can communicate with each other. And I was not expecting that when I read this book, and it made me so happy. I'm going to reread this book before A Dance of Steel and Blood, or whatever it's called, of Steel and... I don't even know what the third one's going to be called, but I'm excited for it is all that I know. But the way that this cat, the way that they like hunt together, the way that they take care of each other is so amazing. And there's actually something really special about the saber-toothed cat that I won't tell you because they're secrets, but I loved the deep connection between these two, and it made me so happy. And also our heroine, because our heroine has a deep connection with the animal as well. So this one doesn't get enough love. I feel like the hero is a much more cinnamon roll than Matic is, but it is still a really fierce and deadly story that's being told because we are preparing for the destroyer to come and try to break the world. And we are trying to build up a crew of people who will be able to stand against him. And also she writes a fantastic romance. And this one has an animal companion. So there you go. All right, so now let's do some historicals. Now this one, I know there are a ton of these that have animals because when I had my members live show, I needed some help. I was like, hey guys, can you remind me of some books that have animals because I'm having a tough time? And there are a ton. Like there's Bridgertons that have pets. There's other books by Julia Quinn that have pets. There is ones by Eloisa James and Lisa Kleypas. Like there's a lot of them that have pets. But I wanted to pick ones where the pets were like important to the story, that like they add something. So I feel like I have found a few that they're actually important. So the first one I want to mention is Wilde in Love by Eloisa James. This is the first book in the Wilde of Windmill Castle. And so in this one, there is a pet skunk in this one, which yes, in case you have never heard of that before, if you remove the smell glands of a skunk, they're kind of like a cat. They're very feline in the way that they carry themselves and they like snuggles. And my dad actually knew a guy who had a pet skunk. Because yeah, if you remove the scent glands when they're a baby, because they wouldn't need that if they're domesticated. It's like if you would take the claws from a cat to be inside. Like, I know people can have debates about that, but it's better in a lot of ways. You wouldn't have a pet skunk who could stink you up whenever you scared him. But the hero, I believe, actually buys it for her. But either way, the pet skunk, there's some really cute scenes with the skunk in this one. And so I wanted to mention it. I know that's weird, but I like when there's cool pets and stuff like that. So I wanted to bring that one up. Then I want to bring up Love in the Afternoon by Lisa Kleypas. This one is the 5th and final book in the Hathaway series. It's about the youngest daughter, Beatrice, and she actually, there's actually a picture in this one. It's really cute. She is writing letters to a hero under a false name because the hero, Christopher, was writing letters to this other girl, and this woman didn't really care for him at all. And so Beatrice took over writing letters to him because she enjoyed talking with him. And they originally started talking because he had found this little puppy who started showing up at his camp, and Beatrice actually knows a lot about animals, because actually in previous books in this series too, there are other animals, but they're not like as important as like Albert is in this book. And so that's when she first writes back to Christopher for the woman Prudence, is because she's giving him advice about the animal, and then she ends up falling for him. And when he comes home, and actually comes home with Albert, one of the first meetings between the two of them, him not knowing who she is, by the way, like, well, he knows who she is, but doesn't know, like, that she's the one who's been writing to him. She actually recognizes Albert first, and it's so cute. So Albert is definitely a pretty important part of this book, and it's really fun. And then the last one I wanted to mention, because I was trying to keep this short, is actually one I just finished the other day. And the dog was pretty important to this, but I have a couple caveats to share. So, To Beguile Beast by Elizabeth Hoyt. This is the 3rd book in the Legend of 3 Soldiers, but I actually read this one first. And a few of my friends have actually read this one first as well, and I mean, I knew what was going on. This is about a woman who used to be a mistress for, I don't know if it was a duke or an earl or whatever, but he was kind of mistreating her and her children, and so she takes her 2 children and she escapes him, and she goes to this castle in the Highlands where there's the reclusive Sir Alistair Munro, and he is like a naturalist and a botanist, and he writes books about nature and stuff like that, but he's a scarred hero, and so he's hiding up there. And he, at the beginning of this book, first he has a dog named Lady Grey. And at first, I didn't realize that Lady Grey was his dog, because he was talking about, like, in the afternoons he sits in the garden with Lady Grey and she relaxes in the sun, and I didn't realize that she was his dog. Sorry, I'm like gonna cry, because I do want to warn you about this, because I didn't know. Lady Grey actually passes on pretty early in this book. And so I was like, oh my god, what's happening? I messaged Crystal and I was like, the dog dies, what's happening? And that was really hard, and it's actually really difficult for this woman and her children, who they have just moved here and are trying to become his, like, servants, which he doesn't want them to be there. But the children really connect with the dog, and then she dies after they've only been there for a little while. But then Sir Alistair comes home one night and he missed dinner, and so Helen is really upset that he was, like, late for dinner, and he's the one who's, like, making them sit in the dining room together because he's trying to, like, make her uncomfortable. Like, he's trying to get her to leave. This is he's a really grumpy hero. But he actually bought a new puppy. He buys a new puppy, and he actually, like, gets sick in a rainstorm. And when he gets there, she's like, what the hell are you doing? And he falls off his horse, and he's holding a puppy. He brought a puppy home. So this new puppy, whose name is Puddles in the beginning, he gets a new name later on. The children are helping take care of Puddles, and it leads to some drama, and some different things happen because of Puddles. So this book has many reasons to recommend it, but I will tell you, like, first there's an animal death, and it is difficult. But then there's a new puppy who is really part of, like, bringing everyone together. And I think that as an animal lover, that's something that I've been through. I've been through many deaths of pets. My family, I should have shared this at the front end, but my family has actually raised and bred dogs most of my life. Different dogs at different times, but Cocker Spaniels for most of my life, since I was 5. And I remember when my favorite dog died, and I was actually at Disneyland, and my dad called me, and he's like, this happened. Sorry, I'm not turning this to a sad thing, but I just remember, like, it felt like losing someone so close to you. So I understand if that would be, like, too hard, but I promise that the book is hopeful in that Lady Grey had a long and beautiful life with him, and she was his. The thing is it's like, the way that it's written to me and why it was so beautiful, even though it hurt, is that Lady Grey was there with him, being his companion when he was alone, and she was ready to move on when he got family to take care of him. And like, that's how I really felt about it, and why I was able to like not put the book down, but because it's a good book anyway, is that it really felt like Lady Grey was there for him when he needed her, because he's a recluse and he was like hiding away. And then when this new family came and was there to like bring life back into his life, she knew that it was like she could go now. And I love that. Animals are so important. See, I'm not gonna cry, but I love pets. But I wanted to warn you, like, there's a trigger warning for death of a pet, but then there's more pets. So all right, well, I hope I've given you some good recommendations. Feel free to put them down below for me and for other people to see. I don't usually pick up a book just because a pet's in it, but it's something that's always really pleasant, so I wanted to make a recommendation video. You know, this is Jen making oddly specific recommendation videos. So thank you so much for watching this. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to my channel for more content. I put out new videos 3 to 4 times a week. Make sure to check out channel memberships if you're interested in spending more time with me, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!